What is up, Colorado? Welcome back to another episode of Nuggets and Brews, where we talk Denver Nuggets and we get to sip on local Colorado craft beer. Unfortunately, today I'm not going to be drinking in this episode. I have to go to another game tonight. The Denver Nuggets are playing against the Chicago Bulls, who are in town. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and company are going to be in town, and obviously, I'm going to be there. And but this episode, I want to talk a little bit about what happened last night for the first game of the NBA in-season tournament, or as I like to call it, the NBA IST as short, which sounds weird, but you know what? Maybe they'll change up the name sometime later. Anyways, I really want to get into this game because man, it was such a fun game, and it was a great bounce back win for the Nuggets, who looked incredibly sluggish and incredibly slow, and just kind of wasn't feeling it in Minnesota. But to come back home and to really put on a show, because in a weird sense, it was actually, the NBA is pretty smart about this. This was a game that was pretty hyped up. There was a lot of games that were pretty competitive all night. So great job NBA for having for kind of thinking about this and for keeping these early games in the season super relevant. But man, let's talk about last night's game. The Dallas Mavericks coming to town. And actually, Kyrie Irving ended up starting, and he ended up coming back. I'm not exactly sure what was wrong with him, but he ended up coming back into the lineup. And Luka Doncic and company, they come into town undefeated with a 4-0 record. Nuggets had just lost their first game of the season, and so it was pretty hyped up. I personally thought it's going to be a high scoring affair, and it was. And the finals, my prediction from the last episode was 120 to 112, and Nuggets actually, and the score ended up being relatively close to my prediction. It ended up being Nuggets 124, Dallas Mavericks 114. And I don't know, maybe I'll start doing a little bit more predictions, and for you bettors that are kind of watching, or if you happen to be watching, yeah, maybe you get a little bit lucky with my wild assumptions and predictions. But man, what a great game. And the court. Let's talk about the court first, because as different as it is, and as many, I felt like people all over Twitter were kind of split on like whether they like it or not. I'm kind of in the middle of like, I like that they're trying something new, and it was like really like it's really blue. The court was super blue, but it reminded me of the Mile High City jersey. It reminded me of the Mile High City jersey that with the blue on the outside, and then had like a little bit of that gold, like kind of like had this color here in the middle. But however, it would have been more cool had it been the dark blue that the regular jerseys that they normally wear. That blue would have been much cooler to see, with maybe the regular red in the middle of that stripe. But you know what? It's not as bad looking as, say, the Bulls home court, which is like so red. Like I would kind of feel bad for the viewers seeing that much red all game. Like if you're watching it on TV, or even if you were at the game, man, that's a lot of red. But it was still pretty cool looking court, and it was like totally different. And I felt like for the first couple minutes, like it almost felt like the Nuggets were kind of having to adjust to this court, because there was even times where the first couple possessions after the Dallas Mavericks had scored, Jamal Murray had to like look down to see where the paint stripe was. And so it did take him a couple possessions to kind of get used to it. But once the Nuggets got rolling, I mean, there was just it was just back to normal Nuggets basketball. First quarter, it was really back and forth for the first like 6 minutes. Dallas was hitting some shots, Nuggets were hitting some shots, but for the most part, it was just a high tempo game, really up and down. However, Dallas Mavericks, man, they came in thinking that it was gonna. I don't know what type of mentality they had, but it seemed like they just kind of didn't watch tape on the Nuggets, because they forgot. Hey, this team loves to get deflections. They love to steal the ball and get out in transition and just run it on you. And they weren't. They looked like they just weren't ready for that kind of action, because the Nuggets caught Dallas off guard several times in that first quarter. And also the Nuggets defense. They were just in the driving lanes. They were getting deflections. They were getting steals, and they were just getting out and running. So that first quarter was pretty much back and forth. However, the Nuggets did end up getting a lead relatively quickly in that first quarter, and so they bumped it up to, I think it was like a 10-point lead to end the first. And actually, I have to check my notes here because my goodness, I was like kind of taking notes throughout the game. And but yeah, it was lots of deflections, and both teams were actually hitting some 3-pointers. And then you move into the second quarter where the bench kind of came in, and again another solid game. This bench is. I feel like now that we have a 5-game sample, they've played relatively the same, and they've been able to play really good defense and active defense. It's not like they're stopping everybody, but they're making it. They're making everything tough. Especially the length of the Nuggets bench started to kind of affect the bench of Dallas, and so again the bench was able to continue that defensive intensity that the starters started out with getting deflections and getting out and running and attacking the basket. So there was a lot of that, a lot of transition points, and the Nuggets did not give up the lead. The Nuggets bench didn't give up the lead, and they either extended it or they didn't allow Dallas to get super close in any way. But I think it was about 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Dallas kind of cuts it to 7 points, and then like within like 30 seconds, Denver's back up 11, and to end the second half, aside from like Luka Doncic having 6 turnovers in that first half, man, Jokic gets this inbound pass with like like almost 1.5 seconds to end the half. Kind of gets it, turns around, hits this awesome 3-pointer, and Jokic just turns around, just does this like. I love. There's something about seeing Jokic so emotional on the court. It just like amps up the entire team because like he's so he's just so chill on the court. He always has like this even demeanor of him, like just kind of keeping himself steady and not being like over emotional. But when you see Jokic be emotional, it's almost like heck yeah, get into it, big honey. So that was super awesome to see. And to end the half, Nuggets are up 70-55, and you're thinking, yeah, this is gonna be a total blowout. And it ended up being a bit of a blowout. Third quarter was like much of the same. Michael Porter was super active on defense. He was hitting his threes, and he was into the game. Like there was times where he was getting into the ref's face, like, "Yo, like what are you doing? Like what are you looking at?" Because there was several possessions where it looked and from Porter's perspective, maybe he was right. Some of the calls where it should have been out on Dallas, or it should have been, it just. Porter felt like throughout the night that some of the calls on that the refs were making just weren't they just weren't correct. But it was great to see Porter being super active. He had a block. He had like a ton. I think he had close to 7 rebounds. So he was super active, and it was just great to see Porter finally hit some threes and some consecutive threes as well. But also he wasn't just settling for his threes. He drove to the basket, and not to mention he also played fantastic defense on Luka. He had several possessions where he was having to guard Luka, and Porter's length actually did affect Luka's ability to shoot, because Porter's about 6'11", and I think Luka's about almost the same size as him, so he really had to shoot over him, and he didn't bite on a lot of like pump fakes, and he stayed solid without having to contest the 3 points, without having to jump up and be out of position. He actually stayed solid and just contested without by just putting his hands up. So that was really awesome to see. But man, and also like towards the end of the third quarter, I think it was like under 2 minutes. The Nuggets are kind of they're coming into setting up their offense, and Nikola Jokic tries to pass it to Reggie Jackson. Peyton Watson just intercepts that pass, and he just goes up into this nasty one-handed dunk, which was super athletic, and it kind of caught me off guard. He took off kind of far, and I was like, dang, homeboy's got some hop. So Peyton Watson played well again, and he's definitely deserving of his minutes. So keep playing him. And again, Christian Braun, another solid outing from him. I think he finished with like 9 points, but the points is not what I'm always looking for. Christian Brown, he had some great offensive rebounds. He defended well. There wasn't just a whole lot of mistakes from Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, and Reggie Jackson, and just the bench overall. They played really well. Zeke Naji, another great solid outing from him. Didn't have a whole lot of points, but you can tell he was fighting for those offensive rebounds in there. He was battling in there. He was setting great screens, rolling hard to the bucket, even though he wasn't getting the ball much. He was just active, and that's all you want from Zeke Naji. You just want him to just play hard out there and just make sure that he's contributing in like different ways aside from scoring. But third quarter ends. Nuggets are still up. They were up like 102-87 to end the third and to start the fourth. It was just kind of more of the same. But towards the end of the fourth quarter, Dallas does kind of cut it a little bit close. But it wasn't anything where even the Nuggets themselves or even the crowd was like, "Oh my God, here come Dallas." No. It was more of like, "Oh, y'all made a little bit of run. Let's bring it back up 10 again and just close you guys out." So, man, just a great solid outing by the Nuggets, and to just to get the first win of this new like format that the NBA is pushing. It was definitely great to get a home win again against a Western Conference rival or opponent, and to also not allow Dallas to be the only undefeated team. Which that as a Nuggets fan, I don't have like huge hatred or like huge rivalry towards Dallas, but it's just you want to show the Western Conference teams like, hey, we are still the team to beat, and tonight it showed because after the Nuggets got a lead, they just didn't relinquish it whatsoever, and they made you pay for your they made Dallas Mavericks pay for sloppy play, bad decisions, and just not being crisp on their offensive flow, and there was just too many transition buckets. One of my favorite plays was actually after a Luka score. Immediately Jokic, goes to inbound the ball, throws it immediately to KCP, who was just like running down the lane, and then Gordon was kind of falling behind, and it's just one of those Sports Center plays. He throws it up, Gordon with a huge dunk, crowd just goes absolutely nuts. But no, just overall great win for the Nuggets. It's kind of good that they're having their back-to-back at home, but again, they have been playing quite a lot of games. But it's kind of hard to complain whenever other teams have played just as many games as the Nuggets. So the Nuggets are gonna have to cut. They might be a little sloppy tonight against the Bulls. But I also foresee another win by the Nuggets. The Bulls again did play yesterday as well, but they're having to travel here, so I expect it to be a little bit more of a low-scoring game. However, I do foresee the Nuggets to get a nice solid win. My prediction for tonight: Nuggets 114. The Bulls 96. It's going to be a munder for the Nuggets. The Bulls are going to have a tough time scoring against the Nuggets tonight. Again, they're going to be tired. They're going to be traveling here after having to play over in Chicago for their home opener for the in-season tournament. So, man, can't wait for tonight. It's going to be another fun game. Expect another Nuggets win. And, yeah, man, thank you so much again. My name is Misa. Thank you for watching Nuggets and Brews, and I'll see you. I'll probably make another episode tomorrow to recap the Bulls game and to also do a preview for, I can't remember who we are playing after that. But anyways, I'll get to that when I get to that. My name is Misa. Thank you for watching Nuggets and Brews.